Hey, sweeties, guess what? I really like this episode. I truly believe this is one of the top best episodes in TMNT 2012. It has action, drama, and goes into detail about the origin of Splinter and Shredder when they were brothers. My only complaint, and it's really only a nitpick, why couldn't this be an hour-long special? Think about it. The episode beforehand was just a small episode introducing Renette and Savanti Romero, set in medieval times. It was a cute callback to Turtles in Time when they went to medieval times in the movie, but how much better would this have been if Savanti Romero just went straight to Splinter and Shredder's time? Remember, his original goal was to mess up history. So why not have him go back to the past and mess around with Splinter and Shredder's childhood so we could see even more details with how they grew up together? Fuck medieval times, give me more lore! Honestly, there's very little that I can complain about in this episode. It's more like nitpicks or even personal preferences here and there. There is a reason why this episode is so beloved in the fanbase, and I want an excuse to gush over this episode. So without further ado, let's just get right into why this episode is so— Wait a minute! Why are you dead? Huh? Oh yeah, I forgot. Let's just say I have some unpopular opinions back in the Dragon Ball fandom. Go check it out. So I'll be in my Halo form for a while until I get wished back to life. So again, let's get started. The episode begins with the Turtles running away from the Foot Clan and meeting a young Shredder. Once they escaped, they arrived at a dojo where we also meet a young Splinter. Now there's something I like to make note about this episode, and it's the contradiction between Splinter's version of events versus what really happened. In Splinter's version, everything seemed more black and white, with a typical jealousy-turned-tragedy love triangle. But the more the episode goes on, there seems to be a bit more shades of gray. Splinter is a more snarky young man who is struggling to balance a family and to keep his clan alive, while Shredder is still an angry little edgelord, but it seems like he's not taken that seriously by his brother, and has more chemistry with Tang Shen than we originally thought. Speaking of which, we finally get to meet Tang Shen. Okay, so I've heard a lot of complaints about this version of Tang Shen. The biggest complaint that I've heard is that she falls under the woman in fridge trope, which is supposed to be when a female character gets seriously hurt, such as death, maiming, or assault, to serve as plot devices to motivate male characters, sometimes called fridging. Take for example, Batgirl from Killing Joke, Gwen Stacy's death from Spider-Man, or for me, Adam Eve in Invincible. You're telling me you have the power to manipulate matter at subatomic level, and you choose to only make pink walls? Oh well, but at least you went down fighting against Conquest. You get a participation trophy and a gold star for standing by your man. That being said, this is an unpopular opinion of mine. I actually don't mind this trope. I don't mind, nor do I care, that Shen is basically a prop for Splinter's tragic backstory. Yeah, I know, it's a sexist trope, but personally, I don't see it like that. Sometimes you just need a character to be created just to kill them off, or to be used for a sob story. And it's not like it's only used for girls. Batman has his dead parents, Spider-Man also has Uncle Ben, while here Splinter has Tang Shen. And look, if you're still mad that 2012 used the fridging trope, I will argue that they at least evened it out with April's dad, Kirby. This guy was constantly either being kidnapped, killed, or mutated, twice in one season. Kirby is April's motivation. He's the one that starts April on her journey with the Turtles, and he's basically her prop for her to get some motivation. Hell, you can even make an argument for Splinter himself. Splinter also either goes missing or dies at the end of every season, except for season 1. But I don't really see an uproar for these men being used as props or motivation for the other more important characters, especially for Splinter. He's the badass sensei. So for me, although I admit Tang Shen does fall into the fridging trope, she does at least serve her purpose. She's likable enough for me to care about her, she does have a nice romance with Splinter, and I do feel bad when tragedy does strike. I can see why this trope would piss others off, but again, sometimes you just need someone to die, regardless of their gender. Death comes for us all. Tang Shen and Yoshi get into a fight about their future.
Let me walk you home.
I can take care of myself.
Aww, Karai is just like her mother.
I can take care of myself.
Yokai!
I told you it was dangerous.
I told you I was fine.
Footbots, keep them close.
So I guess being a dumbass in distress runs in the family. Speaking of which, Saki just so happens to be in the area. Yeah, sure, tell that to the judge, you creepy fuck. And saves Tang Shen from the turtles. Also, hold on. Shredder used to date Tang Shen?
Shen, take me back. I will help you take care of Miwa. We will go to New York together, the three of us. I am a different man than the one you once knew.
Huh, I didn't know that. Yeah, in the previous seasons where Splinter mentions how he and Shredder were fighting over Shen, it seemed like this was just a simple love triangle where Shredder was just the jealous one over a woman that wasn't his. But oh hello drama! It seems like Shredder did date Shen first, but they broke up because of Shredder's temper. Okay, so it seems like Splinter actually swooped in after the breakup and married his brother's ex. Interesting how you seem to have left that element out of your story, Yoshi. Okay, so personally, I am not a fan of the villain's motivation being he got rejected by a girl. I find that pretty pathetic. Instead of feeling sympathy for the villain, where it's revealed there's more to them, that they are really a tragic figure broken by society or fell victim to an unfortunate event, I'm more like, really? That's your motivation? That's the reason why you're a monster? Because one girl said no to you, now the whole world has to deal with your problem?
Telling me you lost a toy train, that's all. That's all you got, really. I had to work as a lawn gnome. I was forced to wear hand-me-up girls' clothing. Neither of my parents showed up for my birth. Well,
Some exceptions to the rule. Villains like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast or Titan Megamind. Those are actually done well. They do acknowledge that it's both pathetic that they're taking rejection to the extreme, but also shows the terrifying nature of one who goes through rejection. They're basically what happens when the nice guy snaps and their facade completely shatters. That's how you make this trope work. Now in here, I'm a bit torn, because on one hand, they are trying to play this seriously. Like we have to feel bad for Saki being rejected by Shen, even though she has every right to choose who she wants to be with, and I wouldn't want to be with the walking cheese grater neither. But on the other hand, this isn't just a simple rejection. Like I said, Saki did date Shen first, and he still clearly has feelings for her, so it must be so hard for him to not only see her get married, but to get married to his brother, who is very much aware that Saki still loves Shen. Yeah, this is a pretty dick move on Splinter's end, but Splinter just doesn't do that. If we also analyze how Yoshi was treating his little brother in the beginning, it seems Yoshi doesn't take Saki's feelings that seriously. He's brushing him off, teasing him, and Saki is trying to let Yoshi know this. So, taking this all under consideration, this is probably what Shredder grew up with. If we also remember what Splinter said in the backstories, Shredder was not just living under his brother's shadow in combat, but he was also dealing with Splinter not taking Shredder's feelings that seriously. Now, Splinter does care, don't get me wrong. He does say,
I have always been there for you.
but again, at this point, Yoshi not only already married Saki's ex, but he also has a child with her. This is the gray area between Saki and Yoshi. On one hand, it must be hard dealing with the little emo, but on the other hand, Shredder also deserves to feel validated in his pain. Anyone wouldn't be happy in this situation. Where's my hour-long OVA, Nickelodeon? This is the good shit I've been missing. Alright, but getting back to focus, although I may not be a fan of this trope, I'd say it's done well enough here. Shredder does not magically turn evil because Shen rejected him, like how Scar did in Mufasa. It's more complicated than that. If anything, Shen's rejection was one of the tipping points in his descent into madness. It was him finding out that he was from the Foot Clan that finally made him snap. If I had to rank this, I'd give it a B. The turtles realize they have to help make Shen choose Splinter, or else their future will cease to exist. I'll talk about this a little later. So I'd say the weakest part of this episode is the turtles themselves. Not because they're annoying or anything, it's just they're used more as spectators. They're mostly just spying on everyone or making commentary, and the biggest thing they do is convince Shen to stay with Yoshi. It's not bad, let's get one thing straight. It's just the weakest part of the episode. I'm more invested in the drama between Splinter and Shredder, learning about what really happened in the past, and even seeing who Tang Shen really was. The turtles are fine. They're still the lovable, badass goofballs they always are, but they're not really the highlight of the episode. And again, how they fit with the whole time travel lore, I'll talk about that in the end. They meet up with Shen where the turtles learn about yokais, and Leo is, I'm not ready to face the Leo Rai stands. The turtles convince Shen to stay with Yoshi. Meanwhile, Saki learns the truth about the past and revives the Foot Clan.
I will have my revenge on them all!
Hey, so where's the dad in all of this? Yeah, remember Splinter's dad who was in the beginning and middle of the episode? Where did he go? Did he just go on a vacation during the time Saki figured out he was adopted? Or is he just sleeping through all of this? Like is he just back in the temple fast asleep as his sons are trying to kill each other?
We were raised together, Saki. Do not make me fight you.
How could I not? After so many lies, after so much dishonor.
Hey! Keep that shit down! Don't make me come over there and beat the manners into ya! Sorry. Yeah.
Or did the worst case scenario happen and he just croaked in between scenes? Also, how did Saki figure it out he was from the Foot Clan? Did the dad decide to tell him? And if so, why now? Why would he tell him at the moment where he knows Yoshi and Saki are? Or was there just some evidence lying around that Saki was from the Foot Clan? Like, what happened between Saki in the dojo and Saki leading an army? Explain, episode! Teen GD has so many questions! Saki goes and confronts Yoshi and gives Shen an ultimatum.
I ask you one last time. Make the right choice.
I have already made it. Please, you are brothers.
Yeah, Saki! Why can't you be more like my son, Donatello, who's also dealing with a love triangle? He's not like you. He might get jealous, may try to push both April and Casey away, or yanks April away, prioritizes April over family, thinks Casey isn't right for April, stalks April, obsessed with April, has pictures of April without her consent, gets mad when she's alone with Casey, and also has a temper. I'm sorry, how is this guy better than me? Yeah, why wasn't I harder on my yandere son? I mean, I was really hard on the angry one for possibly turning into you, but how could I have missed the other angry one? At least I'm giving Shen a choice. Did this guy ever give this April a choice?
You call this a choice? You are literally holding me at gunpoint.
No, baby, they're knives. This is completely different.
How can one love and hate someone so fiercely?
Let me stop you right there, Saki. This is one of my complaints in not just the episode, but in the Splinter and Shredder's dynamic. Okay, so we are told over and over again since season 1 how Hamato Yoshi and Oroku Saki grew up as brothers, until their love for Tang Shen separated them. So I can definitely believe these two were rivals in the past that turned into enemies in the present. But I'm having a hard time believing these two had any love for each other. Well, to clarify, I can buy Splinter loving Shredder as a brother, both in the present and the past, but I do not buy for 1 second that Shredder ever loved Splinter as a brother at all. In the beginning of the episode, Saki was always on fence with Yoshi. He was annoyed with Yoshi. He was angry that he never believed him. Then he tried to steal Shen away once he sensed a rift in their marriage. So where's the moment where Yoshi and Saki are actually getting along? Where's the moment where I can see them as brothers? I know they're supposed to mirror Leo and Raph, where they butt heads and fight a lot, but we had a few seasons already seeing Leo and Raph get along. Where's Splinter and Shredder's moment of getting along? I could use a movie as an example. I'd use Prince of Egypt. In this retelling of Moses, Moses was also an adopted brother raised to believe he was blood relatives with his brother Ramesses, until he realized he was a Hebrew growing up with his enemies. But before he realized this, the movie shows us his relationship with his brother and how close the two were. We saw them play with each other. We saw them get in trouble with each other, get mad at each other, but make up later. And we see just what kind of loving familial relationship they had. So when Moses does learn the truth and turns his back on his brother, it is truly heartbreaking. Just look at the scene where Ramesses is pleading for Moses not to go. Without playing the audio, just look at the heartbreak in these two's eyes, the sorrow when Moses does leave. And that sorrow expands even more when Moses does have to come back as Ramesses' enemy in the name of God, in the name of freedom. And even during the 10 plagues, when Ramesses has every right to hate Moses and sees him as an enemy, there is still a part of him that still sees him as his little brother and can't help but still have that same love for him as they had in the past. Until finally, when the last plague hits and Ramesses' child was taken, the love was finally erased and replaced with pure vengeance, as Ramesses finally accepts Moses as his true enemy. You see how there are so many layers in this film. Although there's a clear good and bad side, I can sympathize with both. I feel bad for both Moses and Ramesses, but I still cheer for Moses to win and for Ramesses to lose. But that doesn't stop me from crying when I see Ramesses screaming for Moses at the end in vengeance, and Moses finally saying goodbye to his brother. And a lot of that comes from the movie taking some time to dedicate the silly, loving, and heartwarming relationship both Ramesses and Moses had growing up. I don't get that here. I do not believe for a second that Shredder had any love towards Splinter. And I know some people will say,
GD, that's kind of the point. Shredder is an unhinged monster that keeps descending into madness. In fact, that's what his ultimate form leads him to be, a monster at the end.
If that's the case, why this sentence?
How can one love and hate someone so fiercely?
How could one love and hate someone so fiercely? If the intention was for Shredder to be a one-note monster who always hated Yoshi, why have him admit he loves him? Usually villains like this would be,
"You know, brother, I never loved you. I always hated you from the start. You were always in my way to greatness, but I've always held back because of Father. But now, since he's out of the way, there's nothing left to hold me back."
That's usually what happens with these types of villains. But no, the writers chose to have Shredder admit he did have love for Yoshi. Well, if that's the case, you need to show us, the audience, the actual love between them. It would make the other scenes where Shredder and Splinter are butting heads much more tragic. Now look, the rivalry between Shredder and Splinter is good enough with what we got. But this is what I mean when I say this episode would have been so much better if this was an hour-long special. Imagine the turtles running around trying to find Savanti Romero while we are also watching the story of Shredder and Yoshi. Now I can see a problem with this. There is an argument that there's too much going on, but I've seen other shows do this trope as well. And again, we need to see the brotherly love between Shredder and Splinter in order for this line to work. Again, where's my hour-long OVA, Nickelodeon? You had an extra season for this to be fleshed out. Actually, why didn't we get one? They went back in time again. Come on, Nickelodeon! That's gonna happen to you if you don't chill the fuck out and learn to respect no! So history is set back to normal and the turtles reunite with Renette.
It was the scepter. It brought you here to make sure Splinter survived.
Wait, so it's always been this way? We were always destined to come here in time and save Splinter's life?
Okay, this is the only thing I say is bad about this episode. I hate this time paradox shit where apparently someone from the past was always destined to go back in time to somehow make sure history remains the same. Because honestly, it raises so many more questions than answers. Wait, if the turtles were supposed to go back in time to make sure they would be mutated, how did they get mutated in the first place? So wait, if they originally never went back in time, does that mean Shredder could have won Shen over? So wait, if the turtles never interfered, would the original canon timeline be Shredder times Shen and Splinter taking over the Hamato clan? What kind of BS? It's just a cartoon. It's just a cartoon about 4 mutant ninja turtles who eat pizza in the sewers of New York. It's not that big of a stretch. Again, although I hate this time travel trope, it's still not really the worst trope out there. Again, a lot of my issues I have with this episode is more nitpicks or tropes I don't like. But we finally reach the ending where Renette drops the turtles off and returns to the future. Overall, although I may have my issues or nitpicks sprinkled here and there, this is still a pretty badass episode. It finally shows us what happens between Splinter and Shredder, while also giving us more of a gray side to them. Now I still stand by how it's essential for us to see the brotherly love between Shredder and Splinter, and I am still disappointed that we never really got to see that explored. But again, their rivalry is still good enough. I wish we could have seen more of the different points of view, how present Splinter's story differs from the actual history. Maybe when the turtles do go back in the present, they can confront Splinter on what really happened. Maybe there's a reason why Splinter didn't want to share that he was the original homewrecker. Could he have guilt over this? Does he blame himself that maybe if he never married Shen, she'd be alive? Or he could have still had a good relationship with Saki? Again, really would have liked an hour-long special. But without all my nitpicks and issues, this is still one of the best episodes of TMNT 2012. P.S. When Shredder adopted Karai, did he think Splinter died in the fire? In Splinter's point of view, he thought Shredder kidnapped her, but Shredder saw Splinter get buried under rubble. But then in Season 1, it seemed like he was hunting Splinter. So when did he find out that Splinter survived? God damn it, Nickelodeon, you had an extra season and you wasted it! We managed to hit 5K subs last year. Incredible! I'd like to thank all my Patreon members and channel members for helping to fund the Goten Black project. Now let's see if we can get to at least 7.5K subs, or even better, 10K subs. But Goten Black is still going, but only if y'all behave. And support us! Right now, you can read 5 new pages of Goten Black every Thursday Eastern Standard Times. Or you can sign up for our $5 tier to get all the benefits from our $3 tiers and get 2 picks from me every month. And right now, you can read our Goten Black Remastered series every Friday. Or you can sign up for our channel memberships here on YouTube and read new Goten Black no audio updates every first Friday of the month. Thanks, guys, and stay unhinged. Or at least the good kind.